funny, very odd shop down at the corner of Temple and Glendale. Out in front, they had a man, it wasn't really a man, they had a whole diving outfit with, you know, the kind of helmeted diving thing that you had to screw onto the person, and there was a great big plate in front of his face. And that guy stood on that corner for years. The whole time I was growing up, he was there on the corner. I was so sad when I came back to the neighborhood and that guy was gone. But of course he would be. It was 500 years ago. And the streetcar ran here, up and down. And if we were flush with money, Mom would take my sister and me on the streetcar ride to what she called the end of the Caroline. Do you know what that was? It was the end of the car line, end of the streetcar line. And so we would go down there to that corner, and I would look at this guy for a long time while we were waiting for the streetcar to come. My mother was very friendly, and so was I. And we would meet lots of people on the streetcar, and sometimes she would bring them home and cook for them. And sometimes it would be young boys who were, this is during the war, she would bring home some young boys and cook for them, and they were so happy to be in a house with a family. And of course, if there were any Pinoys anywhere, she brought them home immediately. And they were all also very happy to be at home, because most of them were bachelors here without families, not allowed to marry, and they were also very happy to be in a home, even though our our house is very humble. What I also remember is that there were retaining walls back here and beautiful morning glory. They would bloom very early in the morning, and then you would watch them close. And it seemed like, and they also wouldn't live. If you cut them and you put them in water, they wouldn't live. They always had to be connected to the vine. Maybe that's why we keep coming back to our neighborhood. We have to be connected to our vine. Anyway, the freeway moved us once, and I guess we had been, Filipinotown had been moved many times. The hub for Filipinos was Figueroa and Temple, and that now out here in this area is Filipinotown is kind of strange to me, because I always remember walking down or driving down if we had a lift to get Filipino food at Figueroa. Now there are plenty of Filipino restaurants around here. That's nice. I forgot to tell you about the churches that they had around here. Now, I'm going to tell you a different story with this background, but right there was a church of Holy Rollers, and they made a lot of noise, and they spoke in tongues. And I had a babysitter named Mary Smart who lived down this street here. What street is this here? Mountain View. She lived down there, and she would take me to that church, and I loved going to that church. You could scream and holler and carry on and roll around on the floor, and I just thought of it because I see this Pentecostal temple here. I wondered if they moved from over there. And that was also at the time at Echo Park. There was is a little before my time, but it was still being carried on, Amy Simple McPherson's group. And her followers were still very devoted and carried on at Angelus Temple. So down here in the middle of all this holiness, in this backyard, was ampalaya, that bitter melon vegetable that Filipinos love to put in their food. Eat with scrambled eggs, all kinds of ways. Everywhere you look, it turns up. And when I was a kid, they had bitter melon plants here, because this was a Filipino family that lived here. And my best friend lived here. She only came here in summers, Valerie. She's in my first novel. And I cut her hair. Her mother made me cut her hair. And it was a very sad story. Took place in there. But I love Valerie with all my heart. Here was the ampalaya. And when I was here about 2 months ago, maybe longer ago, I was talking to a Filipino who was out here with ampalaya plants. And I said, oh my God, these are the same, this is the same. And I asked him if he knew the family. And he said, no, but maybe Mr. So-and-so did. He told me to go down the street. I didn't go. But he said, as long as he knew, they had been planting the ampalaya right here under these, using these trellises, I guess since I was a kid. So it's kind of nice that the same plant, well, not the same plant, but maybe seeds from the same plant, have been growing here on this corner for 50 years. Pretty impressive. And helping people. Ah, familiar sound. Sirens on the street. Now, if I was a little kid living here, I'd start running right now. I don't know why. We always ran when we heard the sirens. It's kind of touching being here. I can remember sitting on this porch time after time after time and singing really kind of maudlin Irish songs. Where I learned them, I don't know. The radio. And wondering what my life would be like. I remember singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and somebody caught me singing it, and they made fun of me for a very long time about that song. And I guess I always had the idea that I would leave the neighborhood somehow. I don't know what was pressing me out. I don't think I was particularly unhappy. I just felt there was, maybe because everyone in the neighborhood was from somewhere else, there was a big wide world to see. Cross-cultural education here on Westlake Avenue.